The mind does not stay still like a photograph. A quiet mind can be shaken by one comment. A gentle response can suddenly become firm in a particular situation. So if we want to understand what is happening right now, a long-term description of personality is not enough. The baseline egogram is the familiar arrangement of the mind that has developed over time. It reflects the environments I have lived through. It reflects the ways I learned to endure. And it shows which parts of the mind I tend to use most often. If the baseline egogram is an old map, the momentary egogram is more like a snapshot taken just now. It captures briefly where my energy moved in this particular scene. Imagine someone whose NP usually flows naturally. They tend to respond gently. They take care of others. They create a warm atmosphere. Then someone makes a comment that hits their pride. In that moment, the flow may change. What felt warm a moment ago becomes sharp. What felt open becomes firm. A different part of the mind's engine moves to the front. Capturing that brief shift is momentary coordinate estimation. It does not ask, I'm usually calm, so why did I act like that? Instead, it asks, where did the energy move in this situation? We are not describing the emotional wave from far away. We are looking at the exact point where the wave began to rise. Momentary coordinate estimation is more than naming an emotion. I was angry. I was hurt. I felt uncomfortable. Those descriptions matter. But Torbit TA goes one step further. We look at the words, we listen to the voice, we observe the body, and we notice how the atmosphere of the relationship changes. Imagine that I say, I'm okay, but my voice has become thin, my shoulders are tight, my lips are pressed together. Then this may be more than a simple I'm okay. The words say one thing, the body may be pointing toward a different coordinate. For some people, CP may rise quickly in a moment like this. Their tone becomes firm. They begin to feel that the other person needs to be corrected. A thought may appear, I can't just let this go. For someone else, a C may come forward. They laugh it off. They pretend everything is fine. They try to adjust to the other person first. For another person, A may temporarily lose clarity. Words they would normally organize calmly become hard to hold on to in that moment. Here is the important point. A momentary coordinate is not a stamp on someone's identity. It does not define the whole person. It shows the direction in which energy moved in this particular scene in response to this particular stimulus. This work matters because we often misread ourselves when we are shaken. Some people blame themselves. I'm not usually like this. Why did I do this again? Some people deny what is happening. No, I'm not angry. Others dismiss it. It's nothing. But the body may already be saying something different. The relationship may already be feeling the effect of that fluctuation. So after noticing nonverbal traces, we need a way to translate them into the language of coordinates. This does not make emotion cold. It helps us read emotion more accurately so we are less controlled by it. For example, I feel bad right now may be completely true. But it is still broad. We cannot yet see what rose. We cannot yet see what tightened. Now compare that with, my CP rose more strongly than usual in this scene. Or my AC pulled back first in this moment. Now the change becomes easier to observe structurally. The goal is not to invent an exact number. The goal is to translate a vague feeling into an observable coordinate. Before this, I may have said, why am I like this? Why am I so shaken by something so small? I'm usually calm. But when I begin to read momentary coordinates, the language changes. Now, I can see how my mind's engine responded to this stimulus. A particular energy rose quickly in that moment. Right now, I'm moving in a defensive direction. There is more observation in those sentences and less self-blame. As observation grows, immediate reactions have less control over us. That is why the purpose of momentary coordinate estimation is not judgment. It is acknowledgement. We first acknowledge what happened inside us. Then tuning can begin. Momentary coordinate estimation does not stand alone. It is the entry point to reading the momentary egogram. We first notice what rose. We notice what pulled back. We notice where the mind suddenly became tense. Only after we capture one point, like a coordinate, can we begin to read the larger flow. Here again, we need to be careful not to turn one scene into a fixed judgment about personality. If I became firm in one situation, that does not mean I am always a firm person. If I pulled back in one situation, that does not mean I am always weak. A momentary coordinate is not a personality label. It is an estimate of the current position. It shows the direction in which the mind moved just now. So a person who reads momentary coordinates does not say, this is just who I am. Instead, they can say, in this scene, this part of my mind came forward more than usual. In this moment, this function temporarily moved back. This reaction is not all of me. It is the fluctuation happening now. When we can see our reactions this way, they become less frightening. A reaction is not the same as our whole identity. A reaction can be read. And what can be read can also be worked with. A young sprout may feel as if the wind is the whole world. But someone who has begun to read the movement of their own mind responds differently. They see the wind as wind. And at the same time, they notice which part of their inner stem was shaken. That difference matters. It is the difference between being carried by a fluctuation and being able to read it. We estimate momentary coordinates not to evaluate people with numbers. We do it to misunderstand ourselves less. We do not stop at, why am I like this? We learn to say something different. In this weather, my mind's engine moved in this way. At that moment, we step slightly back from the center of the emotion. We return to the place of observation, and A sits there again. A does not blame the mind. A observes first. Then it begins to read the present fluctuation more accurately. That is why momentary coordinate estimation is not a cold analytical technique. It is a way of not missing a fleeting trace. It is a way of turning that trace into language we can acknowledge. As this skill develops, we become less afraid of our own reactions, and little by little, we become better able to read and work with even the moments when we feel shaken.